you a little starter kit, and then they send you one of these guys, which is every 2 weeks they send you an experiment. Comes with everything you need. Like, we haven't used this yet, but that's the Bunsen burner essentially. And all we needed to supply so far was batteries. We've had other ones, but they weren't.
We had to order more supplies. Like, we bought a chemistry set, but it didn't come with all those chemicals.
And then we had to go on Amazon and order stuff like hydrogen sulfate.
And then they thought we were cooking meth, and we had to fill out some trade forms. Yeah, so now we just ordered this, and you have to be put in the FBI watch list.
Hey guys, I am coming to you from lovely downtown Los Angeles, and this was a good week for me. I had a really good week. I started off in New York City. I was there with Olga K. We went to the last Ringling Brothers circus show ever. If you haven't seen last week's vlog, you should check it out. That was a fun one. And started off in New York City, then flew back to Austin. When I flew back, I had to immediately get ready because I had to do a speech for the Chamber of Commerce, all about Rooster Teeth. It was an event that honored startups in Austin, ones that have done really well over the course of the last year or two. And they asked me to come out as somebody who once had a startup in Austin, no longer a startup, and talk about my experiences of growing a business. And then right after that event, I had to run out of there, and I went over to the Alamo Drafthouse. The Alamo had their 20th anniversary party, where Tim League and his wife Carrie were celebrating 20 years of having the Alamo Drafthouse in Austin, which is just crazy for me to think about. Because sometimes I think Rooster Teeth has been around forever. At 15 years, and 20 years is nuts. And in typical Tim fashion, it was a really crazy event. And then we even got as a parting gift, he gave everyone a gigantic sword. And I'm not really sure what that's meant to signify, but I had to go back all the way across town with a sword in my hand. Carrying a sword, you get a lot of looks, even more so than you do walking around talking directly into a camera. And then the next day I had kind of a bittersweet moment, a sentimental day. I don't know if I'd call it a sad day, but I am in the process of closing down the house that I lived in for a number of years, and a place where all the people from Rooster Teeth would come, we'd watch movies in the backyard, if you ever saw any RT lights like that. And I just really, really loved this house. It was just such a tremendous space to exist in. This is our chalkboard wall, and all the people from the animation department would love to write on that whenever they'd come over. There's our family motto in the kids' mom's house, and in my house, you'll see it some places: be nice and work hard. And there, of course, Mr. Joseph Delgato, Joe the cat. Remember, we used to barbecue there all the time. We'd have long dinners on the table that was right there. Everybody would come over. One of my best memories is when it was Barbara's birthday, and we flew her boyfriend at the time out from San Diego to be with her and surprise her, and he came walking around that corner, and she couldn't believe it. This is a bar where Meg Turney taught me to drink Diet Coke and vanilla vodka, and that's painful. We have this restaurant it's right around the corner from here, and they have these Brussels sprouts that we all absolutely loved. We tried to figure out the recipe for it. We looked it up online, and we were gonna make them ourselves, and it was this really complicated recipe where we had to make fish caramel, which I don't even know, even after I've made it, I don't know what the hell that is, but it has fish oil and sugar that we had to caramelize, and it made the whole house smell terrible. But the Brussels sprouts tasted amazing, and we made a big batch of them. We all took a little sample. We were all gonna eat them, and then Monty showed up and ate all of them because they were so good, and nobody else got any. It's a good memory. I really love that house. I enjoyed all the times that we had there. And there seems to be a little confusion about that, because I posted it on my Instagram story about this, because the house that I sold was actually the house that I lived in for a number of years before I moved to the house that I'm in now. But I kept it for an extra year because I had this grand idea that I was gonna rent it out. I came to the conclusion that I don't want to be a landlord. And then this weekend, I got to spend a ton of time with the kids. they had 4 days off from school because they had Friday and Monday off to celebrate Memorial Day here in the US. And so got to spend the whole weekend with them, just doing lots of fun guy stuff. We played a ton of video games. I played Prey because Teddy really wanted me to play Prey and he wanted to watch me play it. And then I got to play Battlegrounds with JD on duos. That game is a ton of fun. If you have not checked out Battlegrounds yet, you should absolutely do it. It's like a mixture between Hunger Games and Battle Royale. And then there was this crazy storm that rolled through Austin and we had a power outage. And so we got to bust out the candles and the board games, and we played a fun game that we've had on our shelf for a long time that we've never broken open. It's a game called Pandemic, and it's a weird board game because it is a cooperative board game, and I've never played a cooperative board game before. And then JD and I got to do something that we really enjoy doing, which is we got to run some chemistry experiments from this subscription box that I got him. It's from a company called Mel Science. Not an ad. And I signed him up for this thing. It's like a Loot Crate or a Rooster Teeth double gold box where every month they send him 2 different experiments.
Alright, we have our mixture between this sodium hydrogen sulfate and the tin chloride.
Yep.
This is what's supposed to make the dendrite when we run an electric current through it.
And I love it because he gets to run these experiments, you know, at home, and we can see really cool things and study the chemistry of it. So really, if you're interested in that kind of thing, check out melscience.com. I really like their subscription box. It's really well done. So that weekend was a ton of fun. And then I flew back here to Los Angeles midday on Tuesday after doing some stuff in the office on the morning, and then have had meetings and everything here in LA. But since this is one of our walk around and talk vlogs, I thought a good topic for today might be the topic of failure, which is something that people don't really often talk about. A lot more people like to talk about success, and I know a lot of people liked the motivation vlog, so I want to talk a little bit about failure. You know, I think so much of what keeps people from doing the things that they want to do is the fear of failure. And I think the only difference between people who have a fear of failure and people who don't is that the people who don't have a fear of failure don't have a fear of it because they failed a lot of different times. And on Always Open and some of the other podcasts I've been on recently, I've talked a little bit about how I don't really get bothered by rejection, and that's really kind of just a form of social failure, but it's just one of those things you have to accept that's gonna happen. You know, at Rooster Teeth, we certainly like to talk about all these successes that we've had, but you know, there's been a number of different things over the years that we haven't got right. I mean, that's to be expected. You know, we do a lot of things at Rooster Teeth. We're gonna mess some of them up. The biggest one that I can always think of is the Gauntlet season 1, where we had this opportunity with Geico to make this show, and we wanted to make a competitive gaming show, and we approached it differently for production than anything else we had done before that, where we shot all the episodes of the show before we released any of them. Which normally we'd shoot an episode 2 or 3 or 4, put at least the first one out before we produce the next, you know, 6 or 7 episodes of it, so we had some time to react. Gauntlet, we didn't have that. And so when we put out the first episode and people did not like the tone of the show, we knew that we were in trouble because there was nothing we could do about changing the tone of the show. We could change a couple things in editing, but not that much. And so when we had an opportunity to do Gauntlet season 2, it would have been very easy for us to say, no way, we're not going back to that, the audience hated it. But we wanted the chance to make those adjustments to the show that we didn't get in season 1. We made season 2, and honestly, season 2 is probably one of the most beloved Rooster Teeth productions that we've ever made. I mean, didn't get a ton of views, but the people that watched that season of Gauntlet absolutely loved it and keep asking us to do it again. But guess what? Even when we went back for the second season to do it again, we made a mistake there where we produced the show with Maker Studios. And after Maker was bought by Disney, there was nothing we could do to make the show that everybody loved again. So even when we make small corrections, we can still make other mistakes and learn from those for future projects. You gotta be prepared for people to not like everything that you're gonna do, whether it's a big project or whether it's just even like smaller things you're doing within an already existing popular project. They're not gonna respond positively to everything. Nobody can possibly expect that. But you can't let that paralyze you. And there's a recent example of something I wanted to try, and on paper it seemed funny, but when we all took a look at it, we knew it was gonna be terrible. And that was, I wanted to take the original cast from Red vs. Blue season 1 and have them get drunk and do read from memory of episode 2 of season 1. And Miles in particular was very adamant that this was not gonna work and it was gonna be a failure. I was like, we have like 14 other independent episodes in season 14 of Red vs. Blue. If it's a failure, what's the worst that could happen? Well, he was right and I was wrong. And we found out what the worst that could happen would be. It just turned into a big sloppy mess.
So at the end of episode 1, what's your line?
What do you say?
Sarge,
What do you say?
You say,
I'm gonna tell a story real quick.
end of episode 1.
I'm gonna be honest. I forgot what we were talking about. All right.
He's got it.
All right.
He just remembered it.
I do have it. I got it.
Go.
All right. Simmons, Griff, front and center, blah, blah, blah.
In the Sarge voice.
Say it like Sarge.
Front and center, I'm really angry. Grim and Simif.
And really, honestly, it wasn't even worth putting out. But you'll be the judge of that because we actually have it coming out, I think, within the next week because it was one of the promised rewards for first week. So all I can say is enjoy the products of our failure. All right, so we'll be back here in sunny Los Angeles, not so sunny today. We'll be back here in just a few weeks to cover everything that is E3. We're gonna be covering it for the YouTube front page, so be sure to check out our coverage. And between now and then, we have something really cool going on where we have our Rooster Teeth all hands meeting where we have people from all across the company coming from all the different departments, and we're gonna discuss everything we've done over the last year, make sure we're all moving in the same direction, and what's to come. So that sounds like a good thing to cover next week in the vlog. See you then, everybody. Have a good week.